Hello and welcome everybody. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and frankly, I think real estate brokers are known for being great salespeople. They're not always known for being very good scientists. And I kind of wanted to change that because I'm getting a bunch of questions that come up over and over again from clients. And what I wanted to do is give you guys some answers to those questions and actually support them with real data and real research that we've done in our Southern California market here in LA and Orange County. So we basically took LA and Orange County data and we wanted to look. And the first question we want to answer is, has our market slowed down? Have things come to a screeching halt? And one of the easiest ways that you can do that, I'm going to share screen here in a second for you guys. We prepared some data, is you can look at what happened before a lot of the coronavirus stuff, and then you can look at what is going on in the last week. So what we did is we took a look at the data between March 6th and March 12th, and then took another look at the data from March 20th to March 26th. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up a graph because I think probably the first thing that comes to mind, right, is what about new listings coming on the market? So what you're looking at here is, and we divided this by over $1 million and under $1 million. And I think it's important to do that because in Southern California, those markets are very different. So once again, you are looking at new listings that have come on the market in LA and Orange County. The blue graph is the period of time pretty much before a lot of the coronavirus stuff. And then the red graph is our most recent week. So as you can see, we have seen a pretty appreciable drop in new listings. But what's really interesting about that is in this under 1 million category, that is less than a 50% drop. So remember, in the past week, people are essentially, we have a stay-at-home order, and people are still putting new homes onto the market. So I think it's important to understand that while we're definitely seeing market activity in terms of new listings is down, it's definitely not down and out. Now in the over $1 million category, we have an over 50% drop. I think that's pretty understandable why we would have an over 50% drop in that category. Those homes are less likely to be vacant. It's more likely to be disruptive to daily lives. There's a lot of reasons why we would see a slowdown in some of those listings. The next thing that I want to show you guys is something that's probably even more important than the number of new listings coming on the market. And that is to take a look at the number of new escrows. So this is the number of homes that went into escrow. And again, we're going to show you this kind of pre-coronavirus, which is that 3.6 to 3.12 figure. And also we're going to show it to you in sort of the post-shelter in place order, which is the most recent week. And we've again divided this into under 1 million and over 1 million. And one thing you can see is while new escrows are certainly down, it's almost the same exact story. It's a less than 50% drop in the number of new escrows from 3 weeks ago to the most recent week. And I think that's a very good sign. It means our market has not stopped. It's not like things have come to a screeching halt in our world. So the final thing I want to show you is a figure that we call absorption. And absorption is what happens when you say, well, if we got 100 new listings on the market and 50% of them went into escrow, and we had, if we had 100 new listings and 50 of those listings went into escrow, we would have an absorption rate of 50%, right? And again, we can track that rate sort of pre a lot of the coronavirus stuff, and then during in the thick of it, which is the most recent week. And to me, this is probably the most important statistic when we are trying to figure out an answer to our next question, which is, our price is going to take a dive. I think that's it's the undercurrent. It's what's on everyone's mind. They may or may not want to actually bring that question up, but hey, this is my show and we're going to ask tougher questions because I think this is the information that people want to hear. So if we go back here and we pull up our absorption rate, I think we have a very, very interesting story. I'm going to bring that graph up here for you. If you take a look at this, to me, this graph really indicates what's going on in our market and really succinctly defines at this exact moment what we're seeing. And that is for our under 1 million category, we basically have slipped a couple percentage points on absorption rate, but not really very much. We went from a 73 to around a 71%. So yes, we've had a drop in absorption, but I mean, we see those kind of week to week variations all the time. It's not really that big of a deal. What's fascinating is the over $1 million category. We actually have seen our absorption rate come up. That means the pace of people buying has not dropped as fast as the pace of people coming up and putting new listings on the market. But when I see a graph like this, and when you see that the absorption rate is largely unchanged between these two categories, what I see is stability. And for the time being, we're seeing a lot of stability in the market. You also notice I keep saying things like right now and for the time being. And the reason why is because these graphs tell us what's happened. In fact, these graphs are really great recent data, the last week, 320 to 326. But you know, these graphs are not the future. So I just tell people, I can do a great job telling you what is going on right now up to the minute, and I can give you an educated guess on what I think is going to happen in the future. But just to summarize, not really seeing a lot of change in that absorption rate. That means supply and demand are continuing in about the same level of balance as they were 2 weeks ago. You know, one of the other things too that's come up, getting back to that price question, and I have a graph for that, but I want to preface that and give you a little bit of information before I show that up here. And that is, in our MLS system where we have access to data, we cannot see the price of a closed home until it closes. So that means even when a house is in escrow, all we can see is what the list price was. And that might seem like that's a real bummer, like we're missing a lot of information, but it's not, because we actually have some other clues where we can see about the prices. So what I'm going to pull up and show you guys here is I'm going to show you the average list price when a home went under contract. And we're going to do that again for 2 weeks ago. And then we're going to show that also for the last week. And we're going to do it in both price categories. So bear with me here when I'm going to share the screen, put this slide up here for you guys because I think it's important. All right, so this is what we're looking at on the screen. We've got an average new escrow list price. And in our under 1 million category, if you look very closely, you can see that it has slipped a little bit, and I will give you the numbers. It basically went from 611,000 to I think 604, something like that, from 2 weeks ago to today, or this past most recent week in our under 1 million category. That's about a 1% change, not a huge amount of difference. You know, I think that's to be expected, but one thing I think is clear is what we're not seeing is sort of a sell-off and fire sale pricing. We're not seeing people just cutting list prices and doing anything to get properties to move. And I think that's a big fear for a lot of people, that that's going to happen. But realistically, we're not seeing that in the data. And in fact, in our over 1 million category, we're actually seeing a jump in that average list price. So this is the list price of homes which are going into escrow during these 2 week periods. One, our old pre-corona week, and then also our most recent week, which is in the red there on the graph. I have a secondary graph to this that I think is important too, and that is the days on market for these properties that are going under contract. So this is basically saying, if a property went into escrow, how long did it take for them really to get that offer and to go into escrow? And we're actually seeing something amazing, and that is, that time is going down. So these properties aren't sitting on the market. If anything, the properties that are going under contract, they are actually going under contract faster than we've seen in sort of our pre-corona period, which was the beginning of March. I think that's a very encouraging sign also for our market. A lot of times what we see is we see those days on market get longer. And when you see that period of time get longer, that is kind of what happens before prices start to drop. So sometimes that can be an indication of prices dropping. We actually see exactly the opposite here. And that is, you know, we're seeing that period of time shorten. from 2 weeks ago to the most recent week of market data. And the reason why, that I'm giving you guys this information is because I think there's just a lot of talk out there, and there's not really a lot of people analyzing the data in our local Southern California market here, Los Angeles and Orange counties. And I think it's important, and rather than speculating about some of this stuff, is really to take a look at these numbers and actually see what the data is telling us about what our market is doing. The final question, so we've kind of answered, has our market come to a screeching halt? The answer is no, it has not. I've also answered, are prices dropping like rocks, and are we going into a fire sale period? The data doesn't support that hypothesis. We're not seeing that happen either. Kind of the final question that we have is a question that's a little bit tougher to answer, and that is, if you are thinking about listing your house right now, should you? And to answer that question is going to be a little bit more detailed, and it depends a lot on your situation. I think our data is saying that you're not taking a price hit by doing that right now. You're not really leaving a huge amount of money on the table. There's not a lot of danger that your house will sit and languish on the market. But what is important, and something that's very much a personal decision, is your personal safety. Obviously, if you have a vacant home and you're not living there, this is a much easier question to answer. I would say, yes, you should move forward, prepare your home for sale, and put it on the market. However, if you have an occupied home, I think that's a much tougher question to answer. We're expecting some clarification from the governor's office fairly quickly that may allow certain showings and things to be excluded from the stay-at-home order. I think stay tuned on that. Obviously, we'll probably do a post. We might even do a video about it. Anyhow, definitely, like our page, do all those cool things. I'm posting this on my personal page, but I'm probably going to share it to our work page. I know I actually have a lot more friends on my personal page, but I think this is useful information for just about everybody. If you have direct questions, send them to us. We are here to help you answer those questions. And obviously, if there's anything we can do, any way we can help, whether it be regarding real estate or stopping by, picking up something for you, we're here to help you and kind of give you the support and the information you need to make better decisions. Anyhow, happy Friday, everyone. It's sunny. It's beautiful outside. We're going to get through this.